Hello there, my name is Leslie Benson, and I'm here with Astrograph, the makers of TimePassages. And today I'm going to be giving you a tutorial and tour of the TimePassages astrology software for desktop. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So here you see the Astro Clock, which displays all of the current planetary placements. You can see we have the basic chart info up here in the top left corner, the elements and the modes, and of course all of the planetary positions down here in the bottom left. So the first thing I want to show you today is simply making a new chart. So we'll go to File, New, and today I'm going to be using Frida Kahlo's chart as an example. So just go ahead and enter all of her information here. And now we'll see I have that typed in, and this choose city is still in red, which alerts me that our atlas has not found the location yet. So what I do is I just go up to this drop down here. It gives me a list of options, and I see, aha, I just didn't include that accent mark, so I can simply select that, and now we have our location all dialed in. And Frida was born on July 6th in 1907. At 8:30 a.m. And you can, if you don't know the birth time, you can check the sunrise chart box, and it will show a sunrise chart for you, which is what many astrologers prefer to do when the birth time is unknown. And down here we see the latitude and longitude has been filled in for us automatically. And below that we can choose our house calculations. We have quite a few to choose from in TimePassages. And I personally work with whole sign, so I will choose that. The accuracy field, Frida Kahlo actually has a AA Rodin rating, the certificate in hand, which is pretty cool, so I'll go ahead and choose that. Then below you can make any notes that you wish to remind yourself of in the future. And then we simply press OK. And here we have Frida Kahlo's chart. So one of the things that we really like to highlight and focus on when we develop our apps and software is ease of use, and for the tools to be accessible and useful to a broad spectrum of skill levels. So this is appropriate for anywhere from beginners all the way to professionals, and for someone who's perhaps in the beginning phases of their learning, it's a really helpful learning tool. For one thing, you can double click on anything in the chart and it will show interpretations for that point or feature. So as I look at Frida's chart, I'll first look at her ascendant. That's usually what I look at first when I'm with the chart, and I notice that she has a Leo ascendant. So from there, I know that Sun is the ruler of Leo, so that will be the first point that I'm curious about that I want to look into for her chart. So if I wanted to know more about this, I could simply click, and then I get this whole nice interpretation window that pops up that has everything about Sun in Cancer and Sun in the 12th house. And these interpretations are loved by many. It's one of our favorite features that we offer to people, and they're all mostly written by our founder and CEO, Henry Seltzer. Then he did have some collaborators along the way since he created this in 1995. So really wonderful interpretations that you can tap into at any time if you just want to get a little extra information about what that's about, whether you are just beginning or versed in astrology. So from there, we can see that, you know, we can talk about the 12th house a little bit, and Frida Kahlo was a quintessential 12th house individual. She actually experienced a lot of pain and suffering in her life. She got polio when she was a child. She had a debilitating accident when she was a teen, and there was a lot of strife and misfortune in her life, but we can also see the way that she really tapped into that as a source of deep creativity and authenticity and boldness. And that's also reflected by her Jupiter here in the 12th house, that is the ruler of her 5th house of creativity, also near her north node. So she was a fascinating individual, just a deep, deep well of creativity and bold expression. She was well known in her own lifetime and after her death, which was something of an anomaly in her time when women were not usually recognized much as artists publicly. So she was a paradigm changer, and we can also see that her sun was conjoined Neptune in the 12th house, which gives her that connection to the numinous, connection to the unseen, to the mystical realms. She was also something of an addict. She did her fair share of substance use in her lifetime. And we can see that these are also opposite her Uranus and Mars in the 6th house. So we can see that that's reflected in the sudden accidents that she experienced and the struggles with her health, but also that boldness and that daring that she possessed to express herself in a very authentic way. So we can also use the software to find out more about the aspects. We can simply click on any of the lines, and then we see a full interpretation come up for that. And we can see the orb displayed there as well, Mars in strong opposition within 1 degree to Neptune. You can read about that. And if you are more used to or like looking at things in a more linear fashion, you can also pull up the aspect grid to see all of the different aspects there. And once again, you can click on any of these to find out more information. Great. So now that we've explored a little bit about Frida, let's say we begin to get interested about significant events in her life. So I've chosen to zero in on her wedding day, the day that she became married to Diego Rivera, who was also a prominent and well-known muralist artist that lived in Mexico. He's from Mexico. And so I have found their marriage date, and I will go ahead and pull up a transit for that time. So we go display, new transit date. And they were married on August 21st in 1929. And I will take a guess that they were married sometime in mid-afternoon. I'll just put 3 p.m. So now we have the inner wheel as her birth chart and the outer wheel as her transits, of course. And one of the first things that strikes me about her transits at this time was that Venus and Pluto are conjunct in the sky, conjunct her natal Jupiter. And it's interesting to me that she also had that as a natal signature, the Venus conjunct Pluto. So once again, reflecting that intensity and depth that she possessed, and her creative expression and her aesthetic value was not fluffy or light. It was very much had substance and power woven within it. And this also, I imagine, reflects the type of person that she's attracted to, someone who has depth and intensity and is not afraid to really go to the places that some people don't bear to tread. So here we are. There, she and Diego are getting married this day, and the same applies in terms of the software, where you can click on any of these things to find out more. Perhaps we want to learn about what Pluto transiting the 12th house is like, so we can click on that, and then we see transiting Pluto in Cancer, transiting Pluto in the 12th house. Then it gives you time ranges for how long Pluto will be transiting the 12th house, and then an interpretation to go with that as well. We could also find out more about the aspects, so we can go back to the aspect grid and find, okay, transiting Pluto, conjunct natal Jupiter. It's also parallel, we see there with that little P symbol there. You can click on that, and once again get all the date range and the interpretation for that transit. One of the other things we might also want to look at with transits, of course, is the time period surrounding a significant date. And so we have the capacity to animate the chart in TimePassages by, you can do it by minute, hour, day, week, month, quarter, or year. So I could potentially look at the months prior to their marriage where they were probably having a romantic kind of the first part of their coming together. So I could go backwards, say by week or maybe month. So we'll go backwards month, and then we see the chart going backwards through time. And then at any point that you want that to stop, you can simply click or press the space bar, and you'll be seeing the new time for that transit. And now if you want to go back to the transit of the date that we were examining earlier, you simply go to Display, Transits, Saved Transit, and it will automatically pop you back to that August 21st, the day that they were married. So this is a really easy way to see time moving, and there's also key commands that once you get used to using the software, you can simply do Command 7, and that will allow you to move by week. And there's different key commands for every time period. So I actually use that a lot in my research. It makes it really easy to see that feature. There's also key commands to, like if you want to get back to the birth chart, it's simply Command B, boop, and I'm right back to her birth chart. So once you get used to using the program, there's all these tricks and shortcuts that can really make your research and your work with clients go smoothly and easily. So from here, let's say I also want to look at her progressions for that date. So I would simply go Display, Progressions, and then choose Progressions Date. And then we go ahead and type in once again, August 21st, 1929, 3 p.m. And then we can, usually what I look at with the progressions is the moon or the progressed ascendant. And I see right away that there you go, her progressed moon is forming a square to both her natal Pluto and Venus. So once again, if we want to learn a little bit about that, we could click on either one of these aspect lines. We see progressed moon and strong square with natal Pluto, and then you can learn about what that's like. Okay, and right about this time, I imagine I would be wanting to get to know Diego a little bit more and learn more about what his chart is like. So then we can simply go, I actually already created his chart, so I'll just go File, Open. And here in my Celebs and Historical Figures folder that I've created, I have Diego Rivera, so I just select that, click Open. So here we have Diego's chart. He is a Cancer rising, and he has Saturn right there near his ascendant point, and he was an authoritative individual. He was very set in his stances, and he wasn't afraid to stand by them. And we also see that he has the sun in Sagittarius right near Venus, a classic artist placement. So that expressiveness in terms of aesthetics, and he also was very involved with the fairer sex. He had many wives and multiple children, so you could see that his love of women was really built into the fabric of who he was. And then we can also see that his sun is up here in Taurus, making a trine to his 7th house Mars. So a strong tendency towards partnership, but also, once again, we see that boldness and daring personality. And then the moon is also sextile to his Saturn. So now that we've got a little bit more about Diego and we're creating an understanding of him, we'll probably want to compare the two. So when I'm working with multiple charts, what I'll usually do is go to Window and then select Merge All Windows. And this creates a view where the charts kind of come up in tabs like they would as if you were having different tabs on a web browser. And so this is really helpful if you're working with multiple charts to get them all laid out in front of you in a way where they're easily accessible. You can also drag and drop the tabs to get them in the order you want. So go ahead and do that. And now we'll go back to Frida. Let's go back to her birth chart. So let's say we want to compare the two. I will go Display, Comparison, and then choose Comparison. And then I'll choose Diego's chart, Open. And the same rules apply here. You can click on anything to learn about it. And one of the first things that stands out to me is that his ascendant and Saturn are right there conjunct with her 12th house Jupiter and her north node. And so I'm imagining, the reports say that when they met, she was incredibly inspired by this mural that he was painting, this fresco, and just blown away by what he was doing with that. And she, of course, immediately became his muse. So they were very inspired by one another. So I love seeing this ascendant connection that I'm imagining he really saw the magic of her as a creative individual and someone who really had something to express, and the beauty of both her artistic expression, but not divorced from her pain, but that was part of who she was, and that he really accepted that about her, and he really encouraged her to. When they met, she was recovering from the accident that she had when she was a teenager, and she'd been doing a lot of self-portraits, and he encouraged her to keep on painting. And it's interesting that Saturn's there too with that influence. He was many years older than her. He was 20 years older than she was. And I'm imagining he was to some degree or another, a force of stability in her life. And then we also see when there's a Saturn connection in the synastry, that potential and capacity for a long-term bond in that way. We also see their shared Capricorn Mars placements, where that exalted Mars, where they both had that daring and that just innate capacity to really express themselves in an authentic and raw way. So from here, perhaps we want to go to see the composite. And so we simply go Display, Comparison Composite, and choose Composite, and then we can see their composite chart, the midpoints of their shared points. And we see here once again that Saturn signature of Saturn conjunct the moon, where and they both had that Taurus moon, and so that really common thread that they have, I imagine, of even with all of that raw kind of creative fiery energy, that there was something of a stable and grounded glue that really held them together, that allowed them to stay in contact with one another for many, many years through many trials and tribulations, according to historical writings. And so, yeah, we see that that long-term Saturn conjunct Moon, that long-term pairing kind of energy. And then we also see their Leo rising really speaks to, yet again, that way that they both had an eminence and a creative drive that they wished to share with the world. And the two of them together perhaps became even more well known through their relationship with one another. They were actually referred to as the walrus and the dove, and because she was so tiny and so beautiful, and he was sort of this large, lumbering presence. So they were an odd coupling, but they really had that radiance and expression that people saw and recognized immediately. All right, so that's a fair bit about them, and kind of hoping that you could soak up some of the what we can do with the software in a way that's interesting, because we're also pairing it with um, actual astrology and something that you can sink your teeth into in that way. I hope that was enjoyable for you. And beyond this, let's see, let's go back to Frida's birth chart. So some of the other things that you can do with the software that I won't go into an in-depth process with, but you can pull up tri-wheels. So if you wanted to see the birth chart with the transits with the progressions all in one place, you can totally do that. We have graphical ephemeris and transit timelines, astro maps for astro location, and if you wish to go that route with your studies and with your work with clients. We can relocate the chart. With the progress chart, I showed you the secondary progressions, but you also can do the solar arc progressions. Solar returns, lunar returns, different planetary returns if you wish to look at those. We do offer sidereal charts, although we tend to specialize more in Western astrology, but we do have sidereal charts available in the program. Harmonic charts, and then of course you can choose the different chart points that you wish to have displayed if you want to look at the asteroids or the centaurs. We do have the Eris and the other trans-Neptunian objects, Maki Maki and Haumea. And Eris, of course, our founder Henry Seltzer has been doing, well, he's been doing research on all three of these, but his book on Eris has been out for some time, and we actually include the interpretations of Eris in the program, so you can click on that and learn all about the house placement of natal Eris positions. And then, of course, we have some special reports, midpoints, Arabic parts, fixed stars, rulerships, and exaltations. And then, of course, we have plenty of preferences in terms of display options. You can modulate things, aspect options, aspect orbs, whether you want tighter or wider orbs. Chart colors, I've chosen white as my background, but you can choose whatever color you wish. And then depending on what price point and what edition of the software you choose to purchase, the more advanced and higher editions, there is the capacity and capability to create different reports. So you can create a natal report, transit reports by different time periods, compatibility, composite, solar return. You can share those with your friends and family and clients if you wish. And that, I believe, is a fair bit of information for one go through. So I will stop there in terms of the tutorial. And one other thing I wish to share with you today is a look at our website, so you can get a sense of how to explore the different features if you are considering purchasing the software. So just head over to Google Chrome and go to astrograph.com. And once you're there, you can simply select the Apps tab. And we do offer a free demo version of the software, so you can just scroll down right here and click the free download. And here you choose your platform. It's available both on Windows and Mac. And type your email in, download now, and you will be able to install the demo software and play around with it a little bit. We have many different sample charts that you can choose from to explore to get a sense of what the software is like. And here you also see that we offer different versions of the software, different editions. So we have basic, standard, advanced, complete, and then add-ons and upgrades from there. And all of these just offer different sets of features depending on what your needs are and how much you're wanting to invest on your software. So anything from just some basic functionality all the way up to all the bells and whistles. You can choose what you like there. And I could not leave today without also mentioning our mobile offering. We have the TimePassages app available both on Android and for iPhone. And so you can carry all of these amazing features around in your pocket. Not quite as full featured as the desktop software, of course, but we have plenty available for you there as well. All right. So you can also find us on our social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And I wish you happy astrologizing and thank you for joining me today. See you next time.